Good evening, everyone. My name is Joshua Brown. That's me. Along with Tina Lula, Dale Liebforth, Dr. Bavis, and the rest of Team ASAP, I'm excited to welcome you all to the annual Pathways to AP Forum. Tonight's program will be broken into three parts. First, we will have a short 30-minute presentation of speakers. Next, we will hear from a speaker panel comprised of current Team ASAP students, who are excited to share their experiences with you tonight. And at 7:30, we will invite all of you to join us in the East Cafeteria, where our AP teachers and students are ready to talk to you all about the various courses we offer here at ETHS. I am confident you will find tonight informative and inspiring, and am excited to get the program going. So at this time, I would like to welcome Dr. Eric Witherspoon, the Superintendent of District 202.
Thank you, Mr. Brown, and it's a great day to be a Wildcat. So I'm looking around the room. This is actually a very nice turnout, but you probably can notice we do not have standing room only. I want to tell all of you, you made a good decision to come here tonight. And I think before the evening is over, you will, I'm sure you probably agree already because that's why you came. But if you're wondering, I think by the time the evening is over, you will really recognize you made a great decision to come here tonight. As you learn more about advanced placement courses, you're really going to learn some really good things about what we have to offer here at ETHS, and you're going to hear some good ideas about how to approach them and how to think about them. But the most important thing, you're going to hear from students. And I can tell you, I haven't heard their panel yet, but I can tell you already, it is going to be a really great experience to hear from them and to hear what they can share with you about insights. So whether you're a middle school family or an ETHS family looking ahead and thinking about your junior and senior years here, I will begin by saying this: plan to take some advanced placement courses. It is not unique to ETHS anymore, although at one time it was. At one time, there were only about 4 school districts in America that were the beta sites for advanced placement courses. And you're in one of them. This high school has offered advanced placement courses longer than any other high school in America, but about 3 more. So we got a little bit of experience at it. And we're pretty darn good at it. We've got we have a lot of great teachers, and we have a lot of students who really learn how to apply themselves and get the most out of these advanced placement courses. Today, we have more students taking advanced placement courses at ETHS than ever before in our history. In fact, there was a time that this school, which now has 3,700 students, had about 5,500 students. And we still have more students today taking advanced placement courses here than ever before in the history of the school. We also have more students of color taking advanced placement courses here at ETHS than ever before in our history. In fact, I'm a little embarrassed to say that it wasn't more than maybe 15 years ago that we had a very small representation of students of color in AP classes. And I will tell you, it wasn't because they didn't want the challenge. It was because the way the system was set up and the messaging that came from this system that made it a situation where it was not welcoming. And it was almost a message of why would you take those courses? Well, that was criminal. But that's not true anymore. And so when you're a young person, whether you are a family of color or a white family, you know that the student in your family is going to be in a very diverse environment and is going to have the enrichment of having all of these different perspectives and ideas and these rich conversations that are so critical to this. We get some of the best results in the country in advanced placement. You may know, and students here tonight, if you don't know this, don't panic, but you actually, at the end of the course, in each of them, take a national exam. But don't get nervous. We have students here tonight who have survived it. In fact, last year we had 976 of our students, and remember, it's not out of all 3,700, it's essentially only juniors and seniors, and 976 of them, almost 1,000 of them, took advanced placement courses. And of those, 720 of them scored what's called a 3 or higher. What am I talking about? Well, it's a scale of 1 to 5. Taking the exam and getting an anything on it is worthwhile. But if you get a 3 or higher on any exam, you are qualified to get college credit at a college or university, basically anywhere in this country. If you go to an Illinois college, a public college or university, they are mandated to give you college credit for a 3 or higher on an AP exam. If you go to a college or university anywhere else in the country or private ones, that is their own choice how they do that. But you'll hear tonight, they overwhelmingly give credit for having taken AP courses and scored a 3 or higher on it. And of those 976, 720 of the students scored a 3 or higher on 1 or more of their AP exams. You take AP at this school, the odds are you're going to score a 3 or a higher on 1 or more of your AP exams. That's how well we teach it, and that's how well our students at ETHS do. Imagine if over your 2 years you took as many as 4 AP classes and scored a 3 or higher on 4 of them. And now I'll stick with an Illinois college or university. Went to the University of Illinois or Oakland Community College or somewhere, you would be automatically granted about a full semester worth of college credit when you walk in the door. Parents and guardians, that's worth money. That's worth money. So be thinking about, first of all, the advantages of taking the course and of being in a diverse environment and having these enriched learning experiences and discussion. Think about the fact that you have a very strong chance of scoring a 3 or higher on the AP exams, and know that when you achieve like that at this school, you're going to be granted college credit not before you get to college, but when you walk in the door. That's a pretty good deal. We do so well that we actually have been recognized by the College Board. That's who governs the advanced placement. We've actually been recognized and honored on the national basis for how well our students do and the amount of enrollment that we have in advanced placement courses here at ETHS. So have fun tonight. You're going to hear from some great adults who know a whole bunch, but the students are even better. Fair enough? So hang in there and allow us to share some things that we think are really important and that we want you to know, and know that you have something really enjoyable yet to anticipate this evening. For those of you already attending, you know what I'm going to say. This is a great school. For those of you who are middle school families and are on your way, I hope you already know this is an amazing school. And the opportunities in this school are truly unbeatable. There may be some other schools that do really, really well, and maybe you're even somewhat comparable. Nobody beats us. And in many ways, you just can't beat us, because we offer environments and opportunities that other schools just cannot match. So thanks for being here. Thanks for making a really smart decision tonight. And I hope that you really can go away with some good and helpful information. Go Kids!
Thank you, Dr. Witherspoon. We do appreciate how busy this time of year is, and we really appreciate the superintendent stopping by. Next, would you please join me in welcoming Mrs. Beth Airy, the College and Career Coordinator here at ETHS.
Thanks for the applause. Can I see a show of hands of those of you who are 7th grade families? Any 7th grade families? Okay. And 8th grade families? Our freshman families? Okay, great. Sophomores, awesome, and juniors. Okay, so junior first timers. Okay, great. So that helps us sort of frame a little bit about where we head with our conversations with the students and stuff like that, give us some sense of our audience. So as College and Career Coordinator, I'm tasked with informing students and families about the possibilities that await them and how to plan for their goals. As a school, it is our responsibility to promote college and career readiness for all students. The message of this forum and of all college and career programming at ETHS focuses on awareness, access, and success. We want this for you in high school, but we also want you to consider these things in college and beyond. The urgency in our work is highlighted by statistics that show a growing number of students, particularly Black and Latino students, who are not graduating from college. Some of this has to do with the lack of preparedness for college-level coursework, but more importantly, the expectations of students' academic experiences, including advanced study skills, analytical reading and writing, and the ability to communicate ideas to make connections. It is imperative that in order to understand what will be available to you after high school, you must begin planning for college early. And our little joke here is that I say it's never too early. Today I met with a family who had an incoming freshman and a sophomore and said, oh, is it junior year when you start planning? And I always have to take a breath and say, well, I believe that junior year is when we really attack planning, but I do have a kindergartner who can speak very highly of her college plans. So, you know, the dangers of the job, I guess. So when we're looking at the college search, we're going to look at that based on location and size and academic rigor and sports and arts and things like that. And when colleges review applicants, they're going to review applicants based on things like test scores and grades and extracurricular activities, and they're going to look at diversity and they're going to look at character. But most importantly, they're going to look at course selection. So that brings us here tonight as to the number one thing that colleges are going to be reviewing. And what you take is particularly significant. They're going to look that you challenge yourself, that you took areas of interest and passion, and then how you did in those courses. So the level of courses as well as the subject area is particularly important in the college admission process. So when we talk about awareness, access, and success, I want to highlight that awareness requires early college planning. Access means doing the right things to get you where you want to go, and success in high school is the foundation for college and career readiness. An associate professor at the University of Maryland is quoted as saying, "We often observe a discernible difference between students without any AP experience, who typically only devote a few hours to homework each week, and AP students who have had to do this type of time-consuming intellectual work that is required to be successful in college." So it's a notable trait of an AP student versus a non-AP student is how they perform at the college level. And I think that's important for us because when we're talking about attending college, we really are wanting to frame that as graduating from college and being the most successful student you can be. So in the admission process, colleges are looking for students who not only are competitive as applicants, but who will be retained in their institutions because they can handle the level of rigor that is expected from the professors. So fit is not about wanting to get in somewhere, but can you compete for a spot and be successful when you get there? So those are the things we want you to think about. We're looking for fit in the kind of college you potentially want to go to, but are you going to be successful when you get there? Are you the student who was admitted last and are struggling to keep up, or are you the student who's going to be tremendously prepared because of the courses that you took in high school and it may not be such a struggle to keep up? I ask you to consider the words that are imprinted on our teamASAP t-shirts: balanced, challenged, passionate, perseverance, prepared, discovery, engaged, insight, cooperation, communication, disciplined, and leadership. All are descriptive of your AP experience and what is required to be successful. And who wouldn't want all of that?
Thank you, Mrs. Airy. Next, please join me in welcoming Ms. Leah Pekars, the lead counselor at ETHS.
Welcome. I want to talk a little bit about how much this process of taking courses and planning your education is really individualized. And it's really important to be true to yourself. And so AP is an amazing opportunity, and what I want you to think about is really being thoughtful and being planful about which AP courses you're going to take, and know why you're taking a course. So when you think about what AP might be good for me, you might think about taking an AP course for the pure challenge of it, for the opportunity to really grow as a student in your confidence and what you're actually able to accomplish. And that's the kind of thing that's going to be helpful for you in whatever you pursue in your future. It's important when you're thinking, what AP course, what should I do, to really have that match your interests and your strengths, or maybe a strength you want to develop. You're going to work hard in AP classes, and it's going to be good work, but it's easier to work hard when you're interested in something, and that's the best place to challenge yourself. You want to think about how are the courses that you're choosing relate to your intended college major or your potential future career choice, okay? And whether you're taking an AP course or not, just in general, when you're looking at courses, you want to continue to take core courses and electives that really relate to your goals, your interests, and your passions. So I want to talk a little bit about balance. I was announced I'm the lead counselor. I'm in the counseling department. And balance in your life and well-being are really important, okay? We want you to be your best self, and to be your best self and your most successful self, you need to take care of yourself. So we do know, and I know that some of you aren't at the high school yet, some of you are, and we know that students can experience a lot of stress as they feel the pressure to do well and to achieve, and we see that a lot. So we want you to be really motivated by tonight, enthusiastic about challenging, pushing yourself, embracing this opportunity, but we also want you to think real carefully when you get to the point where you're deciding to take multiple AP courses, and how many and which ones. And we want you to think about the hours that you'll have to spend for each class on homework and studying. Think about the extracurricular activities that you have and what time commitment they entail. You want to think about, do you have a part-time job? Do you have some family responsibilities? And this is actually just as important as everything else I just said. You want to think about the time you have for social life and for family time. That's an important part of your well-being. You're also going to get, when you're here at the high school, your teachers are going to make recommendations for courses. And you may have a lot of teachers that are really, really believe in you and are encouraging you to take some great courses, some AP courses. One thing you want to keep in mind is that teachers are making recommendations for courses in isolation. So your history teacher might be recommending a course, and then your math teacher is recommending a course, and then your language teacher is recommending a course, and maybe they're all APs. So for you, you're the one who needs to be thoughtful about the number of APs that are appropriate for you to take. There's only so much time in a day, so you don't want to spread yourself too thin, and you want to take care of yourself physically and emotionally. When you go through the course request process at ETHS, and for those of you who aren't quite here yet, bear with me on this, I do want students here, or parents of students here right now, to know that we do have something called the AP agreement, and it's a great document. It really gives you some great information, and it's a real good conversation starter for you and your counselor and you and your family. And the AP agreement is something that we're going to ask students to read and sign, and also parent and guardian to read and sign. And it outlines the benefits and the expectations of enrollment in AP courses. It also outlines the mindset that's necessary to be successful, and all of the supports that we have available to students when they're taking their AP courses. The agreement asks you to commit to a balanced approach when enrolling in multiple AP courses and prioritizing your overall well-being. And we're also asking you to commit to doing this. You can do it. And so that means that you're signing and saying, hey, I understand the expectation that I'm going to stick with this course. I'm not going to change my mind down the line. And even if it gets a little tough, I'm going to use my supports, and I'm going to embrace this opportunity. So don't be afraid of taking AP, but do be willing to challenge yourself and also willing to take care of yourself.
Thank you, Ms. Pekars. We will now hear from Mr. Dale Liebforth, the Math Department Chair, AP Success Manager, and teamASAP co-facilitator.
Well, you never want to be the presenter that's keeping anyone from lunch or dinner. I'm the one that's keeping you away from the panel of students, so I will try to keep it brief. But I do want to refer you to one of the reasons why you're here. The event's called the Pathways to AP. So what are those pathways? So now, or at some time in the near future, you would want to go to our teamASAP website at tinyurl.com/teamASAP, where you can see a variety of resources. We used to print this out in a massive packet, but we decided to be friendly to our environment and make a digital packet. So we have a digital packet for this evening. Feel free to right now take out your phones and go to that site, and you will find a paw that says Pathways to AP. If you click on that, it'll take you to the digital packet. And there's a variety of resources that you can use throughout the evening tonight. But also when you go home and you think about some of the decisions along the pathway. It highlights things like how many AP courses do we offer at ETHS? What are the actual APs, the pathways in each of the AP departments? What are some of the resources we have for students to help support their success in the year ahead of and in the year during their AP class? What is teamASAP? What is it all about? If I'm at high school right now, can I join? Yes, you can. Come to our next lunch meeting. There's information on the AP legislation for the state. How do I know if I'm prepared for an AP class? Do I need to be prepared day one? The answer to that question is no. We're building you to be an AP student throughout your time in the class. I can continue to read through all of the resources there, but feel free to go to that during the evening tonight and after you go home as part of your review. ETHS offers 34 classes in 7 different departments. So if I were to ask you on the way in, what's an AP class you can think of, you might mention calculus, English, maybe AP US history, but you might not know all of the classes that we offer here. You might not know, for example, that we offer art history, AP studio art, music theory, AP Gov, computer science courses. There's a breadth of courses in 7 different departments that students can take during their time here at the high school. On a question we often get, and it's been alluded to several times tonight, how many should I take? Well, we want every student to take 1 AP class in an area that they're passionate about, in an area they're interested in. And so often, times we have a lot of students that we interact with, like, what are you interested in? What do you want to do? What do you see yourself doing in the future? We try to steer them towards an AP course to challenge themselves to look deeper into that area of study. And so this is the breadth of courses that we have, which again is part of the digital packet for your review. I'm a math guy. I'm the math department chair, so this is the math pathway. What we like about the pathways is you can pick exactly what course you're in right now. So you might be in a geometry course, and you can follow the pathway along, and we highlighted in blue the AP course offerings that are there in the pathways to AP. Now, there are broader pathways within each department, but tonight's focus is on what advanced placement courses you will get, and we found through talking with students that sometimes just knowing the pathway, what class am I in now, what classes do I need to take to end up, and you'll see a pathway for each one of these departments in the digital packet for this evening. So if you're interested in AP Studio Art, putting together a portfolio, what classes do I need to be taking, and what supports are available for me as I work my way through the pathway. teamASAP, we'll let the kids talk about that, but Team Access and Success and Advanced Placement was actually started in this event by a group of students on the panel that came out and said, what else can we do to help support ourselves, to help support the mission to get more students, particularly students of color, in our advanced placement classes, and they'll speak to that this evening. What we have now for teamASAP is about 650 students in the school that are really actively engaged and in their courses, in supporting each other and supporting the mission of the school and success for all of our students. And we will hear from them in just a moment. AP classes are challenging. They're hard classes. Takes a deep dive into the information that's covered in a particular class, and we know that that challenge has presented itself to students, and in order to help support them, we asked students, what would be helpful to you? And every time we did that, they gave us an idea, and from that idea created by students, it usually formed into some type of event. And so what we have now is a series of events created by students, for students, developed and run by students to help support them as they navigate the pathway through AP. So we have a full year of events before you even get into the AP class, and then you have a full year of events during the AP class, including monthly lunch meetings where we have pizza, salad, drinks for the kids, and we say, you know, how can we help you? What can we do to help support you? You're in a very challenging class. What can we do to help you on your way? Dr. Witherspoon talked about in the 1950s when we were a beta test site for the AP program, where really you had to be AP day one. And now we're saying day one, and even a year before day one in the class, we want to help support your success. And we're going to support your success all the way up through the first day of that class, and then through that school year, and hopefully beyond to the next level. And so you can see the 2 years of programming. Again, it's in the digital packet. We send information out to families. We advertise for these events to students during the school year so they're aware of them, and I'm sure that some of the questions will hint at some of these events when we get to the panel. And without further ado, I will shift to the panel. So we will invite the panel on stage, and we will slowly transition to that part of our evening. Thank you very much.
Okay, hi there. I'm Dr. Pete Bavis, and I get the awesome opportunity to help convene this panel. The panel is made up of advanced placement students. What we're going to do to start off, we're going to give them about 1 minute to say their name, their year in school, their favorite AP course, and maybe a little something else about them. It's very important, though, that we keep, kind of strict timelines as we go through this process. So I'll actually act as timekeeper. I'll do it very nicely. And I've also instructed the students to kind of look at me, and I'll smile, and they'll know what's happening. All right, guys, so why don't we start right here?
Hi, my name is Jose, or you can call me Chuy. I'm a junior, and my favorite AP is Spanish. Fun fact, Chuy is actually a nickname for Jesus, which is my middle name.
Hi, I'm Diane. I'm a senior. My favorite class, or AP class I've taken so far, has been AP Physics 1, and my favorite club is Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers.
My name is Nia Dillard. I am a junior, and I can't pick a favorite, so my favorite is the AP block, which consists of AP Language and Composition and AP US History. I am also a cheerleader and an actress.
Hi everyone, my name is Emma Ringstad. I'm a senior. My favorite AP class is probably AP US History. Fun fact about me, I'm a horseback rider and a policy debater.
Hi, I'm Callum. I'm a senior. My favorite AP class is BC Calculus, and I'm a varsity soccer player.
Hi, my name is Michael. I'm also a senior, and my favorite AP class so far has to be AP Chemistry. I'm also in the jazz band.
Hello, my name is Elliot Hansen. I'm also a senior. My favorite AP class has to be AP Computer Science and Principles. And fun fact, I also played on the varsity soccer team with Callum, and we've been playing together for a while.
All right, hi, my name is Kendall. I'm a senior. And my favorite AP class so far has been AP Chemistry. A fun fact about me is I'm a figure skater and I run the Women's Empowerment Club.
Hi everyone, my name is Elena. My favorite AP class is AP Biology. And fun fact about me is that I'm the co-president of a club at our school called Students Without Borders, which advocates for immigrants and the community. and we'll be the moderators tonight.
So the first question that we have for the panel is, how did you guys find out about advanced placement courses?
So I did not know what AP classes were coming into high school. My family did not go to school here in the United States, so I didn't know what type of classes were available to me. My cousin, who graduated a couple years before I came into high school, told me that if I wanted a better chance at getting into a top college, that I should take AP classes. I, as a freshman, did not listen to her because I wasn't able to take any AP classes. But then around sophomore year, I noticed that I was kind of breezing through my honors classes and that I was not being challenged. So I decided then, after I talked to my counselor, that I would take some AP classes. I went from 0 to 4, and that definitely challenged me, but it was a good challenge.
I think I can't really like pinpoint an exact time that I found out about AP classes. But I did not know that they were an option for juniors. So when I came here, and I had a lot of junior friends, and I found out that they were taking AP classes and like all of the different options, it kind of intrigued me. And I knew that it was something I had to take part in.
All right, great. So what was your AP experience like when you took an AP course for the first time?
For me, I walked into the class for the first time and I looked around and I was like, wow, some of these kids are really smart. And obviously I didn't know some of the other kids, but I was like kind of intimidated by who I recognized and the teachers when they went over the curriculum for the first time. And I wanted to kind of prove that I belonged there with the rest of the students. And I was also surprised by the amount of work we had. In my AP English class in particular, we had to read a lot of books and write a lot of essays, starting right at the beginning of the year, and that kind of surprised me because we usually take it easy at the beginning in honors classes.
So my experience was when I first took a look at the first AP Chem test, chemistry test, I was a little shocked by how hard it was. We were going through some simple review of chemistry from before, but the test was a lot more difficult than any other chemistry test I've taken. So I was nervous when I got the grade back, but I was surprised by the curve. But I learned from that AP classes aren't really about acing every test. Like, the curve didn't make me ace it. Like, it helped, but the point of the test was not to let me breeze my way through, but to challenge me. And by challenging me in that class, I really got to learn more about those topics.
So what has been your biggest challenge with regards to AP, and how did you overcome it?
I think I had two major challenges. I think the first one being the workload, because people always tell you that AP classes are a lot of work and it's like work in bulk, but it never really registered to me. So like having a summer assignment over the summer and then like not really paying attention to it until like 2 weeks before school was kind of it was definitely something. I was like, okay, I have to get my stuff together. So time management has really helped me a lot with that. And I think another challenge that I've really, really worked through was being one of 2 black women in my AP block. You know, I know the other girl, but it was just like being taken out of my comfort zone and being around people who don't necessarily look like me. It didn't really bother me, but it was something that I was very well aware of. And, you know, it was a challenge, but as I got, you know, more comfortable with the class, it wasn't, you know, something that really bothered me anymore.
Why are AP classes important to you?
So personally, similar to a lot of the other panelists here, I was kind of bored of just kind of taking core classes because you had to, and not really being challenged all that much, doing the work because it was required for the class and I wanted to get a good grade, but not necessarily enjoying the work. And I think that AP classes kind of give people a place to kind of get really invested in, and I just really liked being able to be very invested in a subject and kind of going in deeper because I was actually interested in it and not just doing the work. So I think that AP classes definitely provide that necessary component for students who kind of want to see, okay, this is a class, but what's the deeper implication? How does this affect the world or whatever? And yeah.
And to build off what Elias said, because everyone is in these classes because they care about this subject, that means your partners and your fellow students are going to be more invested in the class. So AP classes provide a better environment for me and everyone else to learn in, because everyone is there because they want to be there, not because they're there to fulfill some requirement.
So why are you a part of teamASAP, and why is teamASAP important?
I started coming to teamASAP meetings sophomore year, lunch meetings, because my friends made me go and because there was free food, so I was like, why not? And I enjoyed every meeting. I loved the messages that teamASAP was spreading, but I didn't think of applying to be a captain until junior year when I started taking AP classes, and I noticed that when I looked around me to my classmates, I didn't see anybody there that looked like me, that there were barely any Latinos there, and for that matter, any people of color. And I remembered that at that time that teamASAP spread messages of equity and making sure that every single student at ETHS has access and support in AP classes, to AP classes as well. And so I decided that, I also had Miss Lula as my AP chemistry teacher, and she was telling us that applications to be an advisory board captain were open, so I decided to apply. I got in, and I knew that being a part of teamASAP as an advisory board captain was one of the best ways as a student to help do my part in closing the achievement gap.
Awesome. What one piece of advice would you give future AP students?
So one thing I would say is really important is to know your limits and know what you are capable of. So for example, when I told my counselor and some of my teachers that I was going to take 5 APs in 1 year, they were like, oh, you're crazy, Emma. And I was like, no, I'm not, I know what I'm doing. And I did, and I was okay, and I was fine, and I felt like I wouldn't change anything because I wanted to challenge myself, and that's what challenge meant to me. But there's also like the flip side of that, when people want to take maybe 1 AP course and people are like, well, I don't think you can handle that. Like, you need to, if you think you can do that and you want to challenge yourself, don't let people discourage you, right? Like, you should pursue your ambitions and challenge yourself, because AP can be really rewarding, especially at the end of the year when, it culminates in this big test, and it just feels like you've really accomplished something. So I think the major thing to do is to look at yourself and your capabilities and how much time you have, and all those things, and evaluate where you're at and how many you can take, or which ones specifically you should take. So just know who you are and what you're capable of, and don't let people discourage you, for sure.
Another thing that you could also take out of this is taking classes that you actually enjoy. An AP class is very tough, but it makes it so much easier to take a class that you're looking forward to. And if you do this, the class is not going to seem as hard, the workload's not going to seem as hard. Like I said, and she said, it's important for you to fit into the class, so don't take an AP because it's an AP. Take it because you're interested in it.
How do you handle the workload of your AP class or AP classes?
So obviously there's going to be a lot of work in your AP classes, more than in honors classes. And currently I'm in AP biology, where most of the class is a lecture, and you listen to the teacher and you go along with the PowerPoint. And even if you pay attention in class and you listen to everything the teacher says, you have homework and a study guide to complete at home. And if you try to do it without taking notes, you can very easily get lost and not remember what happened in class. So what works for me is that I write a lot of notes in class as the teacher is talking as we go through the slides. You can add speaker notes to the slides if you don't want to write it out on paper, but I write it out on paper because that's what works for me. And if you write something down, it makes it a lot easier to remember anyway. And if you don't remember it, you have it written down, so it makes the class go by a lot easier. And also for tests and quizzes, I like making study groups where like I just group up with my friends or some of my other classmates, and the night before a quiz or a test, we review all the material that we learned, and we test each other on it and quiz each other, and it helps all of us work together as a group.
Yeah, to add on to what Michael was saying, I want to point out the importance of using a schedule or a planner. So especially when you have a lot of classes, you have a lot of work, it's really nice to like write things down, especially when due dates are really far away, right? If you have like a big project or something, knowing when that's due, setting goals for yourself. And especially with projects and such, I recommend that you start them right away. Like I know it's really easy to be like, oh, it's not due for like a month, I don't have to start that. But then you get to like the due date and you're like, oh crap, I haven't started it yet. So it's really important to start things as soon as possible. And plus like you get to be done with it and you can relax. And in addition to that, like doing homework right away as soon as possible, trying not to procrastinate is really the best way that you can handle the workload. What I like to do personally when I have my homework, I look at my schedule, so I'll be like, oh, what class do I have first? I'll do that homework first. Or sometimes I'll be like, what homework is the easiest that I don't really have to like, I can listen to music to or watch TV while I'm doing it, just like giving yourself mental breaks and just making sure you get it done.
So I have just a couple follow-up kind of questions. For the athletes on the panel, how do AP classes work with the season?
Or should I?
You want to go, or I can start? Okay. It is, I'm not doing cheer right now, but when I was doing it during the fall season, it was more, I find it easier now that I'm not like in season because cheer takes up so much time. But yeah, just time management really is what helps. I'll be like, okay, Nia, you have this much to do, and then this is the due date. So you're gonna divvy it up, do some during the day, do some during AM support, and then you'll have some to do when you get home. And then, yeah, and another thing is I stay up late. If the due date is midnight, I'm gonna turn it in at midnight. I think if I can count how many nights I've stayed up till midnight, by now it's probably been like 12. So just, make the time when you can.
Also, I think that another really important thing is, especially when you're in season, I know for soccer it was 6 days a week pretty much. Sunday was the only off day, so there's always practice. And just talking to your teachers, because believe it or not, they're people. They don't want to, mess it up for you. They don't want to make the class unbearable. So they can understand, like, maybe you had a really rough day, you were gone at a game for 4 hours, and you can't get it in today. Just, like, communicate with the teachers, because they're there to help you succeed. And if you just, like, talk with them, I almost guarantee that they'll just understand. They'll give you a little more time. They're willing to work with you a lot, yeah.
One thing I want to add, even though I'm not a varsity athlete at the school or anything, take advantage of your free periods and lunch periods. So like last year, what I would do is I would have math and then I'd immediately have a free period. So I would just do my math homework right away, just like within, it was actually a lunch period, but sometimes like you don't have time to eat lunch and you have to just like go to the library in your lunch period. Like what I would do last year is I would just like eat lunch during class and then just do homework during my lunch period. But I just, yeah, it was not great. But I just recommend like taking advantage of all the time that you have. And also another helpful tip is like knowing approximately how much time your homework takes. So like obviously in the beginning of the year, that's not very easy. But like as you progress, you kind of get a feel for like, okay, Spanish takes me about 30 minutes. And just kind of like timing how much time you're going to need that night or that weekend, and making your plans and such around that time.
My next question has to do with, when did you realize that you were an AP student?
I think for me, last year, I really had a great connection with my English teacher, Mrs. Mallory. And I enjoyed doing the work, and I felt like like she said earlier, it was easy and it was kind of a breeze. And then when we were picking our courses, she recommended me for AP Language and Composition. And I was like, wow, I'm an AP student. I have, the ability to be in an AP class. And, I feel like everyone has the ability, but just having a teacher or someone that has a great influence on you, like put that in front of you, it's pretty amazing.
I think for me, it was when I started using the acronyms. Because as a sophomore, I kept hearing people saying A push, and I did not understand what they were saying until I became an A push student, and I was like, oh, AP US History, that makes sense. So, yeah.
I always wondered what that meant. I hear it all the time. For those of you that have taken AP tests, how important are they? What's the deal with the AP test? Is it just an insurmountable thing at the end of the year? Do you feel prepared going in? Give me a little bit about the AP testing experience. I think that would be really helpful.
I think that the tests are very good about being all, like, the whole year, right? So it's not like you're getting tested on, like, the thing you just learned. It's very comprehensive. I think they're a little bit scary, but you just prepare the whole year. Like, you can't be afraid, because it's like, hey, I just spent the whole year studying, essentially. I think you have to be confident in your ability to have taken up some knowledge in class and through homework. I think specifically for, like, the score, for me, it was just like, oh, it's nice. Oh, like, I got a 5. That's cool. Because, like, for some people, or a 4, or 3, or whatever. But, like, I think that, like, especially if you're looking at schools that don't take credit, like, I think you have to look at where you want to go if you want to go to college and see, like, what their policies are, because that can take off a lot of stress, right? So if you're really stressed about getting credit, those tests become more stressful in a sense. But if it's like, oh, it's just nice to get a good score, then I feel like that kind of helped me relax a little bit, because I didn't feel as much pressure. I think it's important to know where you want to go and what their policies are.
I also feel like, as Emma said, like, the test is viewed as just such a scary, like, this is your future, like, you don't get this, you're in college forever and you're never gonna, like, graduate on time. But it really is just the entire, like, the class is for the test. It's basically like a final. You feel pretty much very prepared, and at the end of the day, like, if you enjoyed the class, that is the true, like, experience that you should have. Like, the fact that you could go in depth and really learn about this, like, if worse comes to worse, you might have to take it again in college, and then you'll even go more in depth and you'll understand more and you can go even further. So it's not like, oh, I didn't get the number I needed, I am just, like, done, it's over for me. It's more about just the experience of taking the class and what it teaches you.
A microphone. I have a microphone, and that's a dangerous thing. My next question, and this is sort of just, when I think about all of the myths that are out there and, some of the bad advice you get, I always think about my daughter and how the worst advice she ever got was that, that her friends were all signing up for an AP class, so she should sign up for an AP class. So are there persistent myths like that, or just bad advice that you would caution people and be like, hey, make a wise choice or something like that, or anything you can speak to?
One thing is take all the APs, because that's how you get into college. That is a big myth. It's important to take APs, but it's also important to have a good grade in the class, enjoy the class. And if you take the class because it's an AP and you end up with struggling and, like, having a lot of stress and getting an F or something, it's not fit for you. It's always better to take what's comfortable. So if it's an honors class, if it's a regular class, it's fine because it's about you. It's not really about having the AP there.
One myth that I was told was that the AP block was horrible, because it's like the AP block, I'm pretty sure you guys in middle school and in high school have had block classes, and so it's basically like 2 classes kind of comprised into one. And so they're like, it's so much work. You're never going to have free time. We're going to be buried in work all the time. We're going to be, like, it's not that. So I got that from a lot of people. And now I'm in the AP block, and I love it. And it's my favorite classes of the day because it's a lot more comfortable than my others. And I'm glad I took it.
I don't know if this classifies as a myth, but I think kind of just what Nia was talking about, like people kind of overhype sometimes how difficult things are, and I think the better question, I think the best thing you can do for yourself, hands down, is ask people who have taken the course what it was like. But the question you shouldn't ask is, was it hard? Because that means something different to everyone. A better question would be, what did the homework look like? What were the readings about? Like how often did you have tests? Were they about like multiple things or one thing? Like specifically with the sciences, I think they kind of differ in the way that you learn and their testing styles, but that goes for all classes. I just think it's important not to ask, is it hard, and let people scare you because maybe they had a bad time. Like don't let someone's bad experience discourage you from taking a course because they said it was hard. I think you need to do your research, and I think you need to find out what the class is going to be like and what the expectations are, but that's not hard because we're all here to tell you and we're all here to help.
And I think another common misconception, or at least this is how I felt when I first went into AP classes, was I kind of felt like a lone wolf or something. I had to do the class by myself, but I realized over time I actually had a lot more supports than I expected. I didn't even go into a library until this year, actually. And it's actually been really great to have that space where I can ask questions, or like in the hub, there's a lot of study centers where teachers and people are there dedicated to help you with whatever subject you need. And I think utilizing all those tools really helps you succeed in your classes.
Sorry, I just thought of one myth that really scared me. When I was a sophomore, I took AP Gov, and it was my first AP class, and I had the misconception that you needed to get a 3 or higher on the AP test to get your AP credit. That is a lie. Like, you can get a 1 and still get your AP credit on your transcript and on your GPA. So, like, the tests are less stressful for that reason. Because I was like, oh my God, like, we're going to take this test, and if I don't get a 3, I'm going to lose my 5.0. And then they were like, no, that's not true. And I was like, oh, like, it was very relaxing. So just know, like, you don't have to get like any type of score on the test to get your credit. If you did the class, if you get your credit, just so you know.
I really like all of those responses around the myths. I think it's important that we surface them, and I think it's important that we speak to them. So I really want to thank everybody for that. Are there final thoughts on the panel? We have a couple minutes. If we could just, if there's anything you would like to add to the conversation.
If there's anyone out there with a question in Spanish, feel free to ask it. Si alguien tiene una pregunta en español, está bien, pueden decirnos.
Also, I feel like a lot of students go into AP, and I know I was also like this, especially with Chem Phys, which wasn't an AP class, but it was similar. So with like what Callum said, kind of I'm a lone wolf, like I need to understand this, or I'm like not gonna get it, it's not gonna work. But once you kind of look around the room, you'll kind of notice that you're not the only one. Like, this is not just unique to you. AP classes are hard, and everybody around you is also being challenged at this level. So like, if you just kind of look around, talk to the person next to you, you can pretty easily create a study group, because everybody does need help. It's not like this one person it's not like you're supposed to just kind of fight through the entire thing and know everything all the time, because that's just not realistic. And it's really easy to kind of look around, find study groups. People want to help, people want to be helped, and that'll help you a lot.
All right. I'm going to ask Mr. Brown if we have a couple minutes for, if we could have some time for maybe some questions from the audience. So I would ask folks with microphones just to, if you guys could jump down here. Mr. Leaforth is going to help us out. Raise your hand. We'll alternate sides. We really only have time for about 3 questions. I think we've covered a lot, but if there's any really burning sort of desire to ask a question, we're happy to do that, and I'm happy to do the translation to the panel for that, because I'm good at that. Yes?
Do you feel that Chem Phys is about the same level of work as an AP class?
I think it definitely is. For me, I took Chem Phys sophomore year, and it was more work than AP Chem for sure. I think it's because you're taking two different subjects, and it's because you have homework for each, that it makes it more difficult, and then you have two finals, right? And I think chemistry and physics, while there's some overlap, it's like they're quite different things, and they're different skills.
I know there's a wide range, but I'm really curious just because of the way you reference this as you're answering questions. Just down the line, how many AP classes you're taking at a time, and if you're a senior, if you could say how many you took junior year as well as senior year?
Yeah, that's a great. So the question is, how many are you taking now, and how many did you take as a junior? And if you took any as a sophomore. There we go. So we'll start here. We'll start with Chewy.
So I took one as a sophomore, actually. I took AP Spanish. That was one class. And right now I'm a junior, and I'm taking 4.
As a junior, I took 4 AP classes, and as a senior right now, I'm taking 3, but technically 4 because I'm getting AP credit for my math class.
I'm taking 2.
I've taken 11 in total. I took 1 sophomore year, 5 junior, 5 senior.
I've taken 7 total, 3 junior year.
I've taken 8 total, 4 junior year and 4 currently.
And I've taken 7 total as well. I took 4 junior year and 3 this year.
I've taken 7 total. I took 4 my junior year, and I'm taking 3 this year.
I've taken 8 total, 1 sophomore year, 3 junior year, and then 4 this year.
AB Calculus. I'm not supposed to go, am I? Other questions?
Are the AP classes that you guys took last year the same, like, reoccurring topics this year, or are they all very different?
I think it really depends on what you're taking, right? I don't know are you a junior? Sophomore. Okay, so I think it really depends on what you decide to do. Like, so some people will do AP English, but then senior they decide not to. So I think it really depends. I don't think there's much overlap. Like, I'm thinking, like, I took Lit and Lang. They kind of seem to be different. The math classes are different, especially if you go into stats, because that's very different. But if you do the languages, there is overlap. So, for example, I took AP Spanish 1 and 2, and they're actually, it's a 2-year-long course. That's one course. So it's really about the specifics, but generally, I haven't seen much overlap at all. They're very different. And also, I'd like to point out, senior year is definitely way harder than junior year because you also have college applications. So please just, or if you're planning on going to college, so just be aware that this is a difficult time.
I agree with Emma, sorry, Cal, because junior year I took BC Calculus, AP Language and Composition, AP US History, and AP Chemistry. But this year I wanted to focus on classes that interested me instead of just like the core curriculum. So I decided to focus on STEM. So I'm no longer taking an AP US History, an AP History class or an AP English class. I'm taking AP Computer Science, MB Calculus, which counts as an AP credit, but there's no AP test. And I'm taking AP Physics 1 and AP French, but yeah.
So actually a question for the seniors. I mean, a highly accomplished, confident group. If you're comfortable saying where you guys are looking at school?
Sure, yeah, seniors, go right ahead if you feel like that.
Okay, I am going to study computer science at MIT. Thank you.
Yeah, right. No.
I'm looking at Northwestern and Cornell.
I'm accepted to Haverford. I didn't know how to say it.
Oh my God, Calvin.
Okay, I actually don't know where I'm going like the rest of these guys. I applied to 14 schools, so Waiting to hear back from a couple of them. I got deferred from one so far. So it is what it is.
I'm going to Carleton College in Minnesota, and I'm going to be studying chemistry and hopefully playing on the soccer team.
I'm committed to Grinnell College, and I'm going to be majoring in chemistry and computer science.
I will also be attending Carleton College, most likely biology major.
So, knowing that we're about to break out in a minute or two to the cafeteria right across the hallway, is there one last question? They'll still be available for questions across the way. One last question?
How do the AP tests, the timing of the AP tests work with finals? And did you feel like the regular finals were easy by comparison to the AP test?
AP tests occur before finals, and the AP tests are much more difficult because they're much longer. They're like, what, guys, like 3 or 4 hours or something, and the finals are like an hour and a half, so they're much more difficult. The questions are harder. The finals generally tend to be easier because you kind of know what is going to be on them. Like, your teachers aren't like, the AP test is like a mystery, right? But you have teachers who you can kind of ask about what's going to be on there, or you can look at the study guide and assume things. But I think generally finals have more guidance, and AP is more mysterious. And it's just so long. It's kind of exhausting, to be honest, but yeah.
I would also add that a semester exam is 1 semester's worth of material, and an AP exam is a comprehensive full year exam. So that's one of the major differences that I would want us to hold true to.
Yeah, I'll also add that a lot of times your AP classes won't have finals because we'll have AP tests. So like second semester we won't have a final and we might have a project. I think at least a lot of my teachers have decided to do that. We still have midterm tests, but we don't have a second semester final.
For AP finals in general, I've noticed when you get to the AP level, you still have tests in certain classes, but it does depend on the class because some teachers choose to go a different way. They choose to have like a final project for your midterms or have a paper due instead of having you do multiple choice questions. So once you get to the AP level, it's not like super steady, like, oh, we have a final in this class. It depends on the teacher in the class.
All right. Well, I would like to give this group, if we give this group a hand, please. What a fantastic group of kids.